Hey friends, welcome back. In this vlog, I pick up about a week after the last one was filmed. I know this one's coming to you late, but last week was just pure chaos and I could not get to a vlog, so I apologize for that. What I'm doing here is just planting my blackberry, and as you can see, since I received this in the mail, it has grown a whole lot of leaves and it is raring to go. Um, I live in Western Kentucky and our soil is very heavy clay. So all I'm doing here is just mixing some compost into the hole where I'm going to plant my blackberry bush to try to give it the best start possible. And then I'll take the rest of that clay that I dug up and break it up and lay it on the top. So hopefully by the time the roots reach the edge of the clay, they'll be strong enough that they can push through. So I'm just tucking this guy in as best I can. And you see the ring in the background. I took an old coffee can and I cut it in half and I stuck the plant label on the outside of the can. And when I'm all done, I'm just going to set that around the blackberry to try to keep my mowers from running over this brand new plant that they may not notice. I lost a whole big bundle of calendula last year that was just coming up because the mowers didn't know it wasn't a weed. They thought it was a weed and just weeded it right on down. Any worms that I'm finding in this clay, I'm just dropping them in there. Like I said, we're going to give this baby his best shot at doing a good job at growing. That coffee can actually ended up coming in handy because a few days later, our temperatures dipped down in the 20s at night. So I just took another coffee can, as you'll see here in just a second, and set it over the top and weighted it down with a brick to protect it from freezing. And it worked really well. It's still doing great. On my property, there is a wrought iron fence that goes all the way around my side yard and my front yard, and I'm just planting this guy kind of inside, about a foot, foot and a half away from that fence, and I'm just gonna let this blackberry kind of go crazy. It's out of the way. It's not gonna, even if it gets a little unruly, it's not gonna bother anything. And you'll notice I'm not watering this in, and that's because we were expecting some rain on this day, and I'll tell you more about that here in just a minute, but it got kind of crazy, and it messed with my plans for the entire day. I never got my onions planted. So, yep, all done with this and on to the next thing. After I got my blackberry all settled, I moved back to the growing table, and for some reason I forgot to turn on my camera. I had gotten distracted by one of the kids. So, the first three pots there that you see is okra. I received some seeds from a fellow here in town. He gave them to me last year. The second two pots are marigolds, and that last two pots are cucamelons. And then the three pots that I just pointed at in the back there, I sprinkled on Snapdragon mix and just gently covered it with soil. These two pots, I'm going to basically do the same thing with aster seeds. They're so tiny I can hardly see them. So I just sprinkle them on and pat them down. And then when I'm all done, of course, I mist them in and cover them with plastic. I know that there's going to be a lot of flowers that I'm going to have to repot because the snapdragons, for example, have already started to come up and it is just a carpet of green across the top of the pot. So once I get my cabbages moved out to the garden, I'll have more pots that I can split them up into their own pots so they can get bigger. Here I'm doing some more calendula. My calendula that I planted last year did come back, but you can never have too much calendula, and it's, you plant it once and you have it forever. Clearly, it can recover from being mowed over. So, calendula in these three pots, and then I'm also doing some red, copper red straw flowers and some purple straw flowers. I tried to plant the straw flowers last year, but I got a really late start. It was kind of an afterthought, and they didn't do very well. So I'm going to give it another try this year because I know they make really nice dried arrangements. They keep their shape. Um, so I would really like to have some of those for some arrangements around the house. Be able to enjoy them year round. I'm pretty excited about the snapdragons. I've never planted snapdragons before, but did you know when you let the snapdragons go to seed and dry up, they make little skulls, little tiny dried out skulls. It's so cute. So I'd like to see that for myself this year. And if I can start a patch of snapdragons and if they overwinter and the seeds will come back next year, then hey, less work for me later. I was going to record a little snippet of my local Lowe's the other day, but when I went, they still hadn't completely opened up the garden center, but I did show immense restraint. My husband left me unsupervised with the bank card, and I only got 2 packets of seeds, so gold star for me. I went ahead and I grabbed some jalapeno seeds and some serrano seeds because that was like the peppers. I don't know how I managed to forget to order those. So I'm doing 6 jalapenos or the early jalapenos, and I'm doing 3 of the serrano peppers. I also got out the heat mat and put it underneath the peppers when I covered them with plastic, hopefully to help them germinate because I know that they take a really long time to germinate. I want to give them their best chance, especially if I can save myself $5 or $10 per plant at the garden store. I'd rather do it myself at home. And since planting these, I have definitely had to rearrange a few times. A lot came up all at once, especially in the flowers. And so I uncovered them, and to get them all to fit in trays where I could bottom water them, I just had to pretty much rearrange my whole table, which is fine. I'll be up potting my tomatoes pretty soon. And all of the brassicas will be going out to the big garden, and that will make more space for more pots. So I'm just giving everybody a big drink right here. I'll get everybody covered up with plastic. And then I'm going to move on to other things before it gets interrupted. But I did show you a little bit of an update here. On the 13th, my tomatoes were big and happy. I did pull a couple of them out of the pot gently and look at them, and they are pretty root bound. So, like I said, I'm going to be repotting them into red solo cups probably tomorrow. Just give them some more space to spread out. These Napa cabbages are bonkers. I named this one Audrey too. I told my friends if it starts talking to me, I'm out. So it's about twice the size of the rest of them. Kale's good, bok choy's good. Everybody just really needs to get out into the big garden. But check out this mammoth basil. I want you to take note of how big it is here in this video. And then at the end of this video, I give you a quick update from just a couple of days later. Since I put out no vlog last week, I felt like I was obligated to at least give you guys a more real-time update, but it's crazy. So after I got done with the inside plants, I moved outside. And here I was going to show you how I took this soil here in 2 years from clay to this beautiful, soft, dark soil by layering cardboard and then straw and then cardboard and straw and just soaking it periodically and letting the weather do its thing, showing you how easily that this breaks up. And then the wind picked up and blew my tripod over and shattered it into a million pieces. And then shortly after that, I got a tornado watch on my phone. So after I got all this soil broke up and, with one hand tried to film to show you how soft this soil was and this new tool I got, it's a stirrup rake. I had to quickly cover everything back up with straw and go back in the house. I figured it would be pointless to even attempt to fight the wind and try to keep an eye on the weather. So I just went back in. Onions still aren't planted. I'm really glad I didn't get them planted because we had torrential rain about 2 inches and I'm afraid it would have just washed them out. So here's an update on the inside. I'm back a couple of days later just to give you a tiny update on everything that's popped up. These are the snapdragons. And then my okra came up. Calendula came up. And zinnias. These are green envy zinnias. Lots of new growth. in these little pots, and it only took about 2 days for all of this to pop up. Couldn't believe it. I thought it was gonna take like 5 days. Nope, they proved me wrong. And there's a lot more growth since I filmed this, actually. Like I said, the snapdragons are just a carpet of green across the top of the pot. So basically, all of the flowers except for the marigolds and asters at this point had popped up. Since then, the marigolds have come up. This is the heat mat that I'm using currently for my peppers, and I noticed that my tomatoes were starting to turn purple, and I had read that that could be because the room is too cold. It is quite chilly in here, so I put them on the mat too. Everybody got fertilized, looking great, and there's those mammoth basil I was talking about. That amount of growth in just like a couple of days blew me away. I have a single solitary tomatillo. I'm gonna try to get some more tomatillos to germinate in a baggie pretty soon, so we'll see how that goes. But yep, that's the update for this week, guys. Sorry I missed you last week. Sometimes when life happens, it happens all at once. Until next week, you guys, happy gardening.